I'm Willa and Plemmons Wyatt, originally from the Shelton Laurel community of Madison County. My home, as the legend goes and story goes, I grew up very close to the area of the Shelton Laurel massacre. The barns that I remember, there was a barn on the farm that Mother and Daddy bought. Mother and Daddy bought the farm from a Cutshaw family and bought it when they'd been married 2 or 3 years when they bought that. Prior to living there, they had lived in a little house in Gunnertown. The barn on at my house, we did spend a lot of time in. It had the main barn and then a shed built to it. And the main barn, we hung tobacco in it, and the shed, we hung tobacco in it. It had a corn crib, I remember that, and it was in that shed that Daddy parked the tractor. And then in the barn, the big barn as we called it, the big part of it, it was a stall for the milk cow and a stall for the workhorses. We had 2 workhorses, Bill and Bob. On the right side is where Daddy kept what little bit of hay that we had that I remember. Then on the left side, he would keep all the gear for the horses, harnesses and whatever you had to have, bridles and all that stuff. He stored that on the left side. And then he would keep like plows and whatever you had to have, for doing the crops on that side. Kept the tobacco sticks on that side. And then, like I said, there was a stall for the cow where they would milk the cow. I attempted that one time, and one only. I milked and I milked and I milked and I milked and I milked, and I had a tiny little bit, and obviously it was time for that to be over, and the cow just walked off and kicked my bucket over, and I didn't go back after that. But the barn, it was just, at the time, you just think it's more of a chore, but now you stop to think it was an experience. It was a really neat experience. But because Mother taught and Daddy's job, he farmed, there was not a lot of work for us to do. In the summertime, we did a garden, and we did the tobacco in the summertime. And then in the wintertime, Daddy, we handed the tobacco out of the barn, and that was the cold. I did have to help do that. My job was never to try to grade it and strip it off, except those tips on the end that had to do that. Those were the hard ones to get off, but usually Daddy would always let Maxine and me also have the money from those tips, because they didn't bring a whole lot, but that was a little bit of money for us. I tell this story, and it's really funny. It does have something to do with barns, but Daddy did raise a few cattle, but he did not have a bull for breeding. But he would walk one of the cows when it was time to be bred across the bridge and across the road to Demp's Landers' pasture, and leave the cow there. And one day, a cow that had crossed that bridge several times just decided she was not going to cross it this particular day. And Mother and I were outside doing something, and Daddy yelled back to us for Mother to bring the tractor to him. He was going to tie that cow and make sure she went across that bridge to make her visit across the creek. And I told Daddy, I said, Mother cannot drive the tractor. And he said, well, you just tell her how. So she gets in that shed that I'm talking about. That's where the tractor was parked, and she got it started. And my instructions were, now be really easy, Mother, and let the clutch out real easily. And Mother just popped it up, and that tractor literally just bound out of that barn backwards with Mother on it. And Mother had no control of it. It was going everywhere. Finally, she jumped off of it and was not hurt. And it went for several minutes around buildings, around cars, until it finally backed into a bank and just got it settled. It couldn't go any further. And I got on and stopped the trailer, the tractor. And all the time, Daddy was standing on the bridge watching it. The tractor missed the can house. It missed, we had indoor plumbing at the time, but the house at one time had an outdoor privy. It missed that. It didn't tear any fences down, but it was going, it being the tractor, going everywhere by itself. And Mother just standing and screaming.